guys. All right, let's get started with Chapter 1 Math. We're going to be talking about place value. Let's start with some of these 10 blocks. What does this represent? Right, this cube represents our ones. What about this one? This is called a long. What does this stand for? Right, we use these to represent our tens. And what about this one? Call it a flat. Right, this is our hundreds. And then what about this one? It's like a big version of our cube, right? This represents our thousands, okay? So we've got our cube that represents our ones, our long that represents our tens, our flat that represents our hundreds, and our cube that represents our thousands. They want to know how many longs would it take to make a flat. So how many tens does it take to make 100? Right, it takes 10. So if we have 10 tens, you notice when we put them side by side, it looks just like this one, okay? So it's going to take 10 tens to make 100. Well, what about the thousands? How many hundreds would it take to make one of those? What do you think? Right, it's going to take 10 of those as well. So if we take 10 flats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we put them all together like this, it looks just like that one, okay? So 10 flats is going to give us this big thousands cube. All right, we starting to see a pattern? 10, 10, 10, okay? But now they're looking here, 10 thousands. They want to know what it would be called. Notice this pattern here, cube, long, flat, cube. So if we kept that pattern going, what would this next 10,000 look like? Right, it would look like a long. Very good, because we've just kept that same pattern going. Cube, long, flat, cube, long, and if we went up to the next place value, what would that be? Right, it would be a flat. All right, so how many hundreds, or how many thousands, I'm sorry, would it take to make 10,000s? Well, let's look at this pattern. 10, 10, 10. So what do we think would go here? Right, it would take 10 thousands, 10 of these, to make a 10,000 long. Very good. All right, so a small cube represents 1. How many small cubes make a long? So how many of these small cubes would it take to make one of these longs? Right, it would make 10, because this long represents 10 and this represents 1. If we stack those up, 10 of them will give us this shape. Very good. So 10 small cubes makes a long, and that long, we said this represents how much? Right, this represents 10. Very good. Okay, now they want to know how many longs, how many of these would it take to make a flat? How many did we say it would take? Right, it would take 10. 10 longs would make a flat, and what did we say this flat stood for? Right, it stands for our hundreds. Very good. Very good. Okay? And now they want us to say how many flats, so how many of these, did we say it would take to make this large cube? How many hundreds would it take to make 1,000. Very good. We said it would take 10. Great job. So 10 flats will make a large cube, which represents 1,000. Very good. Very good. All right. Moving on. Okay, now we're going to look at the value of digits. Okay, so some of you should recognize this place value chart, right? I've got one drawn over here as well. We know that we've got our ones, tens, hundreds, and then for thousands, we've got our thousands, 10,000s place, and our 100,000s place. Okay, so the value of a digit depends on its place value position in the number. A place value chart can help you understand the value of each digit in a number, and the value of each digit is places 10 times the value of the place to the right. So all that means is that when we move from our ones place to our tens place, we're going to multiply by 10. And then when we move from our tens place to our hundreds place, that's also 10 times the amount. Same thing when we go from hundreds to thousands, 10 times as much. Thousands to 10,000s, 10 times as much. And our 10,000s to our 100,000s is also 10 times as much. So that power number of 10 is going to come into play in this lesson, okay? So from 1 to 10s times 10, every time we move, we're going to multiply it. It's 10 times more, okay? So they have given us the number 894,613. And they want us to find the value of this digit right here, of this 9 in the 10,000s place, okay? So if we are looking for the value, what I would do is I would look at where that number is. My 9 is in the 10,000s place. So I've got 9 10,000s. But how much is 9 10,000s worth? Okay? So to find the value of that, what I would do is I would take it and I would write that same number underneath that place value chart. And then every place that I have to the right, I would put a 0 there. So for the thousands place, I'm going to put a 0. Make sure you add your commas where it's needed. For my hundreds place, I will put a 0. My tens place, I'll put a 0. And for my ones place, I'll put a 0. What is this number right here? Right, 90,000. So that 9 in the 10,000s place has a value of 90,000. So 9 10,000s is 90,000. Okay? Now, let's look at another number. Okay? We've got, what about this 6? What value would this 6 have? Well, to know the value of that 6, first we have to know what place value it's in. So what place value is that 6 in? Good. It's in the hundreds place. Ones, tens, hundreds. And that 6 is in that hundreds place. Very good. So that is 6 hundreds. So that would be like having 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Well, let's count these out. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, and 600. So we should have a value of 600, right? Well, let's double check. I'm going to take that 6. I'm going to write it underneath that place value chart. And then every place to the right, I'm going to change it to a 0. So for the tens, I'm going to put a 0. And for the ones, I'm going to put a 0. Were we right? Does it have a value of 600? Yes, it does. Very good. So the value of that digit 9 in the 10,000s we said was 90,000. Get it right up there. Very good. All right, so now they want us to compare the values of the underlined digits. So we've got the number, I'm going to write them a little bit bigger for y'all. We've got 2,304, and they're wanting us to look at this 3. And then we've got 16,135, and they're wanting us to look at that 3 as well. Okay? So they want us to find the value of the 3 in 2,304. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write it in the place value chart. Okay? So I've got 2,000, 3 in my hundreds place, 0 in my tens place, and 4 in my ones place. Well, when I look at this 3, what place value is it in? Right, it's in the hundreds place. So what would we say is the value of this 3? Right, the value of that 3 would be 300 because we've got that 3 in the hundreds place. Be like having 3 of these, 100, 200, 300, okay? So we know that the value of the 3 in 2,304 is 300. Well, now we've got to look at the value of this 3. Okay? All righty, I'm going to fill this back in. It's the thing about my TV, whenever I change the screen, it likes to erase all the hard work I've already written down. All right, so now we're going to put 16,135 into this place value chart. Okay, and they're wanting us to look at the 3 here. What place value is my 3 in this number? Right, it's in the tens place, right here. So if I have 3 tens, what is the value of 3 tens? 10. 20, 30. Very good. And y'all will know I drop things a lot in class, so you'll probably see that a lot. So we've got 3 tens, and like we just counted there, it's worth 30. Alrighty. So which one has the greater value? Is 300 greater or 30? Right. 300 is the greater value. Very good. So it says each 100 is 10 times as many as 10, which we know that, right? Because we know that every time we move up in place value, it's 10 times as much. So hundreds are 10 times as much as tens. So 3 hundreds is 10 times as many as 3 tens. Because when we move from the hundreds, or the tens to the hundreds, we know we multiply by 10. So the value of the 3 in 2,304, which is 300, is 10 times the value of the 3 in 16,135. Okay? All right, let's do some extra practice. Let's look at these. Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. I'll lock it right there. I'm going to change my color up. I like to change my colors up when I'm writing. Okay, so they want us to find the value of the underlined digit. So this number right here is 703,890. I'm going to write it a little bit bigger. 703,890. Okay? They want us to find that value of that 7. The easiest way that I would use to find the value is I would take the number that's underlined, which in this case is 7, okay? And then all you're going to do is you're going to count all the places behind it. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places behind that 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write 5 zeros to replace those places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so now I've found that that 7 in 703,890 has a value of 700,000. Okay? Let's look at number 3. 63,000. Let me erase this up here so we can see this one bigger. 63,540. And they want us to find the value of this 4. Okay? So, same thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find out, all right, which number do they want to know the value of? Well, they want to know the value of this 4. So I'm going to write that 4 down, and then I'm going to count how many places are behind it. Here's my 4. I've got 1 place behind it, so I'm just going to write 1, 0. And that 4 has a value of 40, which we know 4, it's in our tens place. 4 tens, 10, 20, 30, 40. See how that works? Alrighty, on to another one. 182,034. Okay, and they want us to find the value of this 8. Same process. I'm going to take that 8, I'm going to write it down, and then I'm going to say, okay, Miss Stevenson, how many digits do I have behind that 8? Got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 digits behind that 8, so I'm going to replace those with 4 zeros. Okay. For a value of 80,000. And 8 is in our 10,000s place, so when we have 8 10,000s, 80,000s. All right. Number 5, 345,890. And they want us to find the value of the 4. So what am I going to do first? Right. I'm going to take that number that's underlined, and I'm going to write it on the line. Then what do I do? Right. Count how many places are behind it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what do I do next? Good. I replace it with that many zeros. So I counted 4 places behind my digit. I'm going to replace it with 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put my comma where it's needed. And that 4 has a value of 40,000. Very good. All right, we're going to do 6 and 7, and then you'll have some practice on your own. It says to compare the values of the underlined digits. So we've got 2,000, and 200. So which one of those has the higher value? Would it be the hundreds place or the 2 and the thousands place? Let's look over here. Here's our hundreds. Here's our thousands. Which one is further to the left? Right, the thousands. So that thousands is going to have the higher value. So the value of the 2 in 2,000 is blank times the value of the 2 in 200. So we know that those are the 2 numbers that we've got to use. But now we've got to figure out, how many times the value is it? What did we say we multiply by every time we move up a place value? Right, by 10. So when we're moving from the hundreds to the thousands, we're multiplying by 10. It's 10 times as much. So 10 times as much. The value of 2 in 2,000 is 10 times the value of the 2 in 200. Great job. All right, number 7. We've got 40 and 400. Okay? So that 4 in 40 is in our tens place. The 4 in the 400 is in our, hundreds place. So which one of those is in the higher place value, the tens or the hundreds? Right, the hundreds. So we know that the value of 4 in the 400 is going to be greater than the value of the 4 in the 40. But how many times more? How many times more is 400 than 40? Well, let's look back over here. When we're moving from our tens to our hundreds, what do we multiply by? Right, we're multiplying by that 10. That's going to be our power number. So the 4, ooh, y'all see that crazy line? My TV does that all the time. The value of the 4 in 400 is 10 times the value of the 4 in 40. Okay? All right. You got some practice on your own that you can find on Schoology in your Thursday folder. If you need help with this lesson, come back and watch this video or just shoot me a message. Good luck, guys.